It's great to welcome you all here. The structure we're going to have today is we're going to keep it short, quite short and sweet. We know everyone's busy, so we'll be done by 1:30 at the latest. So what I'm going to do is maybe kick off just to give a general context setting for micro-credentials at Trinity, particularly in the space that we're here to talk about today, which are multidisciplinary micro-credentials, really focusing on how you can use these micro-credentials to advance your healthcare career. We've lots of different micro-credential offerings, which I'll go through, but really what we want to focus on today is that you do not have to be just a nurse or a doctor to go in to do these micro-credentials. They're open to everyone across a variety of disciplines and professional areas. So to kick us off, I want to make sure we all start on the same page about what is a Trinity micro-credential. So you'll see a slide up there now, which really sets out what they are. So they're really short accredited pieces of learning. So what that means is you come in, you do your learning, and then you do a short assessment based on your work. You get assessed on that, and then you get academic credit for that. That sits there, that it belongs to you. You've earned that credit so that if you come back in the future, you can do other types of learning and get credit for those. And ultimately, we plan that you'll be able to then stack that learning towards a Trinity award. So they're accredited pieces of learning that you have and which will stay with you over time. They're future fit, and we're delighted on our panel today to be joined by a representative from Tallaght University Hospital. And we have worked a lot with particularly in this area, our clinical partners, to really make sure that our micro-credentials are industry informed. And I mean, skills needs are just changing so dramatically in the healthcare space at the moment to make sure that our micro-credentials are really meeting the needs for now and for the future. Obviously, because they're part of our Trinity educational offering, they're quality assured. So there's a very rigorous process here at Trinity where we quality assure the learning that you're getting to make sure it really is really expert. And we have some of our experts who deliver those micro-credentials here with us today, and we'll be hearing a bit more from them a little bit later. We'll be talking about how some of our micro-credentials are delivered. Some of them are in person, some of them are fully online, some of them are in a blended format where you do some days on campus and some days at home. So we're really designing them to build around busy lives, particularly for those of you working in the healthcare sector. I've worked in that sector for 18 years myself before I came to Trinity, so we're fully aware of the flexibility that's needed. So we want to make sure this learning fits in around your lives. For that reason, we make them short. They range from about 6 to 12 weeks, depending on the discipline area, the learning outcomes, how much credit you get. So obviously a 5 credit module, there's a lot less hours. It's about 125 hours in a 5 credit module, and then 250 hours in a 10 credit module. So that'll give you a sense of the amount of time that you need to dedicate to these. So what micro-credentials do we have on offer at Trinity that are in this multidisciplinary space for healthcare professionals? So we've listed them all out here. I'm not going to go through them all in detail. There's details on our micro-credentials page on our Trinity website, which we'll give you the link to at the end. But I suppose one I do want to highlight is that we have a brand new micro-credential starting in January, which is perinatal mental health and childbirth related trauma. So this is very much developed with our school in nursing and midwifery by a very senior professor who's doing a lot of research and teaching and clinical practice in this space. And it really is for a whole breadth of healthcare professionals who are working in the perinatal area and in the maternity area. So it could be midwives, psychiatrists, anyone in that area who is supporting women. And we're delighted to be launching it. We've already had, I think we saw it's been one of the most engaged launches that we've ever had for any micro-credential at Trinity, and application numbers are really rocketing up at this point. So if you're interested in that, definitely I'd invite you to kind of explore a bit more and make an application soon. Some of the other micro-credentials listed there, we'll be doing a deeper dive today, but as you can see, they range from chronic cardiac disease management, digital health we'll be speaking to today, professional, ethical, legal communication issues, frailty and aging adults, nurse authority to refer for radiological procedures. So there's a whole range of them there. There's a big group of them starting in January 2026, and the rest will start next September, but they're already open to applications. So if you're interested today, you can go in, have a look at those, and you can apply. So I just want to highlight maybe three in particular a little bit more, and really who are they for? So I know we've a broad variety of audience here today. So for you to start thinking, is this for me? Is this not for me? So the first one I want to speak about is the perinatal mental health. So as I said, it's really a multidisciplinary micro-credential, midwives, medical practitioners, psychiatrists, psychologists, and any other allied health professional working in that setting or with an obstetric population. So if that's you, have a look in more detail at this, and you can see there what the learning outcomes are attached to this micro-credential. If we can move on to the next one, we're going to be talking about this one a little bit later on in our panel, but we want to highlight this. So this is Advancing Health and Assessment Practice for Healthcare Practitioners. This micro-credential has been running a while. So we've had a broad range of people doing it, nurses, midwives, paramedics, lots of different allied healthcare professionals. And it's really about getting those skills to undertake an advanced physical health assessment. And as I said, we'll be talking about that. One of the teachers on that program, Paulo, is with us today. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that one shortly. And then just finally, we wanted to highlight a great micro-credential that we've been running a few times as well, which is enacting human rights in the lives of adults with disabilities. So this is a real area of strength here in Trinity and a real area of research. So who is it for? So this one is much broader. This is for service providers, managers, anyone involved in working with adults with disabilities, and particularly intellectual disabilities. And as I said, we've had everyone from healthcare assistants up to senior leaders in this space and people from government departments working in this area coming to do this micro-credential. And you can see the key impacts of that micro-credential there. So if any of those take your fancy, feel free to go in and have a look a little bit more. But you can see even just from those three that I've spotlighted, there's something really there for everyone. So we'll move on, and I think what I really want to do now is kind of welcome our panel and thank them for giving up their lunchtime today to join us, because I can talk all about micro-credentials, but really what you want to hear about and what you need to hear from is the people who are teaching on these micro-credentials and people like Clodagh who are sending their staff on these micro-credentials and what impact they're actually having. So I'd like to welcome Clodagh McLoughlin. Clodagh is the Deputy Head of Learning and Development from Tallaght University Hospital. You're very welcome, Clodagh, to the panel today. We look forward to getting your perspective, as I said, from an employer and from one of our hospital partners who's actively engaged with us on micro-credentials. So thanks for joining us, Clodagh. I'd also like to welcome Gaye Stevens from our School of Computer Science and Statistics, and Sinead Impey from our Schooling in Nursing and Midwifery. And Gaye and Sinead work together on our micro-credential and digital health, which, for all of us, this is such an evolving space. It's moving at such a fast pace. So, and this is really a collaborative micro-credential here in Trinity, where the need for, training and upskilling of healthcare professionals in this space was identified, and the two schools came together to develop this really innovative micro-credential. So Sinead and Gaye, you're very welcome to our panel here today. Great to have you both here. And we're going to be doing a deeper dive into your micro-credential during our conversation. So you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And fresh from theatre, we'd like to welcome Paulo Melo. So Paulo actually works on our MC in Advanced Health Assessment Practice. So Paulo, you're very welcome today, and thanks so much for giving us your time. And we'll be learning a little bit more, because this has been a very popular micro-credential and you've had lots of learners through. So we're very interested in hearing about, about the diversity of learners and what they've brought to your micro-credential. So Paulo, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Orla. Thank you.
Okay, to kick us off, guys, I'm going to put a question out, and I might start maybe with Paulo. I might start with you, actually. About bringing healthcare professionals from different disciplines together in your micro-credential. How has this really helped them to learn through your micro-credential?
Well, or the advanced health assessment is for, as we said, you don't have to be a nurse or a midwife to be performing advanced health assessment. And we've seen over the years that there was a requirement out there for other healthcare professions such as paramedics, physiotherapists, OTs, all sorts of backgrounds we've had through the course that will deal with physical assessment on a daily basis. But historically, this was all reserved for medical and nursing professions. So there was a limiting factor there for the other groups. And so we thought this would be a great opportunity by doing this MC and bringing the different disciplines together to allow them to develop their skills and their knowledge on advanced physical assessment. And it has, as you said, proven to be a great success because there is a mixture of backgrounds and experiences, and that adds to the rich experience, to the enriching learning for everyone, including nurses as well on the group, because you get to see other backgrounds and listen to other people's experiences that are not necessarily nurses. So, because you kind of tend to narrow down your own kind of little rabbit hole of nursing or midwifery. And so it's great to have this multidisciplinary approach to advanced physical assessment. And we have learned loads over the years, and the students are always very, very happy with the outcomes.
And I think one of the things that comes through all our micro credentials in Trinity, we have 40 different micro credentials running at the moment, is the peer-to-peer learning from it. And I think, has that, like, what opportunities are created, Paulo, in your micro credential for that peer-to-peer learning?
Well, by developing this, we expose them to different scenarios, to different health systems that they wouldn't necessarily be used to. So, like that, a person, somebody with a background that is not as used to dealing with that might benefit from the fact that there's another person in the same group that is a bit more experienced. And so, by not coming specifically from us, the tutors or the educators, we feel that the students kind of benefit from that, and they learn from each other without so much pressure. Because when it comes from us, it's always very kind of, it tends to be very authoritarian. Whereas if it comes from the peers, it's taken in a more gentle way, if you want, But the students really enjoy that, and they learn a lot from their.
And some of the feedback we've had directly from micro-credential learners, particularly doing your MC, is they've developed a lot of networks through being on the program, that even when they finish the short micro-credential, they're actually still like linking up and learning from each other, even after doing the micro-credential, which is terrific for us. So that networking and that professional network building has kind of been a real added benefit to the micro-credentials.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, Gaye and Sinead, I might come into you. Maybe I'll talk to maybe Gaye come to you first, because obviously, you're coming from the School of Computer Science into helping shape and develop and run a micro-credential in digital health. So I suppose, how has that, how has the knowledge of bringing the different disciplines together really like influenced the development and the approach that you've taken in this micro-credential?
Yeah, thanks, Orla, and hello, everybody. So yes, myself and Sinead from the School of Nursing and Midwifery, we've worked for many years together. So this isn't something that has just happened quickly. So I think that might be the first thing to say, that when we want to blend the knowledge, it takes time. So it's, and it's relationships that are going to make that happen. I think maybe if I just think of it from the School of Computing and Statistics point of view, maybe the message I want to get across today is, that computers are not clever. They're not clever. We sometimes, particularly now with the chat GPT and AI, we have this concept that computers are clever, but we have to tell them everything. Okay, they don't know anything, so they're not clever. So that means that all of that knowledge that you guys in healthcare have, we have to somehow harness that and inform the computer about that. So I think that's, I often think of computer scientists, we're kind of a bit like magpies. We go around collecting all of the knowledge, and we have to represent that in some way and communicate it to the computer. So I think that that's a really important part of the difference between the disciplines. And for somebody from a healthcare background to realize it's their knowledge that we're interested in. So we're not necessarily bringing knowledge, we're trying to extract the knowledge from your discipline and to feed it to the computer. And the other message maybe to say in that, we often say IT now, but previously it was always ICT, and the C stands for communication. So if we're thinking of employing or just using IT, as we call it, in healthcare, we need to really see where the value is, because there's a lot of effort in extracting that knowledge and representing it. And it's often in that communication. So digital health is about supporting communication. You know, we may as well stay with paper records if we're just going to record.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, what else can the computer and the technology do? And it's often in that communication part, which unfortunately is taken out of the acronym now. So it's not just IT, it's ICT.
Okay.
So I don't know if so I think that that's the time scale. Computing knowledge develops much more quickly, I think, than nursing knowledge. Getting embedded in the discipline, we're much more trial and see does things work, and we can throw away things easily if they don't work, which isn't true in you know, the healthcare world. So I think it's those type of things we need to be thinking about.
Yeah,
That's great, Gaye. Thanks for that. And Sinead, I'm going to come to you now, maybe to talk about the micro-credential in a little bit more detail, and about how kind of people who've done the micro-credential and your experience of working with them, about how bringing a kind of a diverse range of healthcare professionals together, you know, how has that evolved in the micro-credential, and what have you learned from leading that micro-credential?
So we've learned loads, and I'll just add to one thing that Gaye said, that, you know, computer science, they do come, we do come as a collaborative group, and on the health side, if you like, we're learning a language to speak to computer sciences, because in the in-between space between kind of computers and healthcare, there is a new language, and that's one thing that we do kind of really promote on the course. And I'll say as well that digital health is not just about technology. It really is about how technology integrates into real world care. And, you know, that really requires collaboration between all health professionals, all the allied health professionals, the IT specialists, and the patients themselves. And really what we wanted to do was create that real world experience of working in a new kind of digital team in a classroom, and really teach the people who come on the course what that language is, the key concepts, so that when you leave the course, you are fully equipped to join a project. You will understand the concepts that are being spoke about. You will understand the language that's being used. And it really, it kind of opens up a whole space for people, because there is a language around this, and it can be a bit jarring when you hear first, but actually we constantly reiterate that, you know, they're ICT systems for healthcare. We need the domain knowledge, but we as healthcare professionals need to learn this language, be able to communicate and highlight what our identity is, and highlight what our important requirements are for the group. And one thing we've learned is that it's not only about bringing people from different areas together, but even within areas, we will have people, you know, we will have admin, we will have managerial, we will have nursing, medicine, and they're all given different perspectives. Actually, even within the same system, they all have different perspectives on singular technologies and how they could be applied to them. And it's been really interesting to kind of see how people can come together and actually learn, as Paulo said, learn from each other as well as from the course itself. And I think the one thing that really struck me is the amount of networks that have built up from this, and that people have got, you know, they come for 12-week course. And the course it's 2 in-person days, one at the start, one at the beginning. And we did those in-person days very specifically to allow people to have, you know, interact with their peers and build relationships. And then the class at the end, and then throughout the course it's an online course, so it really does fit in with your learning. And we release a lot of learning materials before the course, before the weekly session. So we've really tried to fit in, because my background is nursing. I know exactly what it's like to be a busy work on a busy ward, and you can't always do it. So we try and release the materials and really work around and with people. And the assessments that we've put in, we're myself and Gaye, we're very practical people. So the assessment is, you know, we ask you to identify a problem that you would like to work on, and then we spend 12 weeks with people working through that problem. Now, we don't, you know, build big piece of technology at the end, but what we do is we allow you to learn the language, develop a real graph for the considerations that go into technology projects, and then you can kind of extend your learning that way. But it's a real practical approach, and
That's great.
definitely network building is part of that.
Yeah, that's great, Sinead. And I'll come back to you, Paulo, in a few minutes just to ask you about kind of delivery and assessment of your micro-credential. But Clodagh, I just want to bring you into the conversation there because just from following from what Sinead and Gaye were saying there, it's about learning. It's about learning the language to be able to go in and to go maybe into new projects in the workplace. So obviously from the Tallaght University Hospital side, a lot of your staff have come to do micro-credentials with us.
Yeah.
And I suppose from your perspective, what are you hearing about the challenges that your staff are facing in the hospital in terms of skills development and how do micro credentials where do they fit in that kind of upskilling of your staff space?
I suppose one of the key things from a clinical perspective, first of all, I can take it from many different angles, but if I'm looking at clinically nurses who are on the floor, who are looking at new roles that they're going to be taking on, especially the likes of the CNS role profile that's coming out now. These micro credentials are a great way to enhance what somebody has picked up from a postgrad necessarily. They may have completed a postgrad, or they may have completed a general master's in nursing. But to be able to go on and do something like advanced healthcare assessment, to be able to go on and do radiology, it gives them those skills that they're able to comfortably move into the role of a CNS. We've seen with an advanced healthcare assessment will be one of the big ones, where we've seen the interprofessional growth of the hospital. So I suppose my role is within a Centre for Learning and Development. And while I am a nurse and I'm a nurse tutor and I do manage nursing education, part of our role in the organisation is to look at the interprofessional learning. And so we have teams building up in the organisation for frailty, which are interdisciplinary, a lot in our gerontological services, our stroke services. They're all moving, everything is moving towards interdisciplinary care. And it is something that, I've heard been spouted since I started nursing in 1997, but it's really coming into its own at the moment. And these micro-credential programs facilitate that move of interprofessionals into things that, as Paulo had said, traditionally were once considered nursing or medicine. And it is opening up that field for physios to take on new roles that they previously didn't consider that they could, OTs to move into teams and specialize in care in particular ways. And we've also seen a number of nurses moving. In our particular organization, we're currently building our electronic patient record system. So we're learning the language, as Sinead had said, and like Gail said, learning that we need to input the data into the computer in the first place. And the idea behind it is we're seeing nurses who are able to turn around and say, you know what, no, how the people in IT think it should be built isn't actually how we work. And I suppose it brings back that piece that Gaye was saying about the C. We have the C in our ICT department. We do maintain it as a communication network. And we now have an OT and we have a physio and we have multiple nurses who are actually there as data managers and who are building aspects of our care system. And that is on the basis that those micro-credential programs facilitate people who have an interest to move into that area and put their personal interest into practical application in their work environment. I mean, they're absolutely incredible. We're also building in our organization our simulation suite and our hub for simulation within kind of the Dublin area. And what we're finding is we're getting interdisciplinary people engaging who've always had an interest in sim, engaging in the simulation micro-credential, and they are in turn imparting that knowledge and able to facilitate interdisciplinary education and training across the organization. So what we're finding is that these micro-credentials, though nobody really necessarily kind of knew what they were when they started, they're becoming more and more ingrained and part of our culture, and they're actually improving quality of the service that we can provide to our patients, and our ways of working, and making sure that we are working in that interconnected, highly communicable, interdisciplinary way across the organization. So I'm finding them great.
That's great, Clodagh. And I suppose from the university perspective, then, as you said, it is that, we can respond a lot quicker. As you said, for us to kind of set up a master's program or even a new undergraduate program takes us a long time. Whereas with a micro-credential, we can work with the likes of Clodagh and, equivalents in other hospitals and nursing homes and other professional bodies as well. Hear about what the skills need is and how that's evolving. And we can move very, very quickly with micro-credentials. So from the university perspective, it's giving us a lot more agility and flexibility to be able to respond to the needs of the hospital and the healthcare sector, but also, as you said there, to respond to the needs of your staff who kind of are now saying, I really want to go into that space, or I'm interested in going that space, but you have me rostered on a full shift. So when can I do this? I'm just going to I know there's a couple of questions coming in on the chat, and we started a bit late, so I'm going to run over by about 5 minutes just to flag to everyone, because I do want to answer some of the questions. But Paulo, I am going to come back to you. Maybe just if you could speak a little bit about, how your micro-credential is delivered, and a little bit about the assessment, because I know we've had a few questions on that.
Yeah, so our micro-credential it's a very practical, very hands-on micro-credential. Now, it is still blended learning to facilitate the student. So most of the theory is delivered online, but then we do get very hands-on on our simulation center in Trinity in St. James's campus, where the students get to practice their physical assessment skills on mannequins and even on each other. I personally like to get a student on the bed, and I like to get them practicing on each other, because it gives the students a different feel of what it is to be on the receiving end and on the other end as well. But it is very hands-on. We do teach, as we said, advanced physical assessment is a core component of advanced nursing practice originally, and aims for the students to obtain all the necessary skills and knowledge to complete a full advanced physical assessment from head to toe, examine the patient from head to toe, and to come out with your differential diagnosis. All right, so what could be wrong with the patient? They're not necessarily going to be diagnosing. We're not teaching the students to do that, and most of them won't be in a position to that, but it's to actually come up to the team meeting and say, yeah, I've assessed that patient, I've completed an exam and a health history, and this is what I think. These are my differentials, and this is the way I think we should go about it. And then it's the multidisciplinary team decision then, where the medics come involved and everyone becomes involved in treating the patient. But yeah, it's very hands-on, and the assessment is done via completion of a logbook where the patients log in kind of clinical hours and exposure, and then a written assessment, a 3,500 word written assessment, which is pretty much a case study. They pick a patient that they were caring for, and they write an assessment, a reflective assessment on that patient. And then the most interesting part is the OSCE. So they get a practical exam where they come in and they're given a patient scenario, and then they have to complete the exam from head to toe and try to come up with the differential diagnosis for that patient. And while it might sound daunting and scaring at the beginning, every single student from every discipline loves it. And they feel when they finish that exam that they're prepared for it. They can then look at a patient and perform the exam, So it's very good, yeah.
And I think some of the feedback we've had, Paulo, you've touched on it there, is the confidence building. And I think, you've all kind of referred to that. It is that, I kind of wouldn't have felt comfortable going into that environment, but now I've built that skill. I know I have that skill. I've been assessed and passed, and someone's confirmed I have that skill. So now I can go out and have those conversations. So if I'm a member of a team and I kind of say, well, actually, I want to move into a different area, I can go and talk to Clodagh and the team there and say, look, I've done this, I have this, what's coming up, where can I move to in the organization? As well.
And it's great, I guess, it was great listening to Clodagh there, just from the feedback from the other side of town, because I'm very biased on this thing, so I think this is all great. And I see really good and positive impact with myself and my group. but it's great to see that Clodagh is feeling that at an
Oh,
institution level.
100%. We get people coming up all of the time looking to go in to use the simulation models here to practice before their OSCE. So, I mean, they take this very seriously and they thoroughly enjoy it, and they come away feeling that they are empowered to take care of their patient, and they feel able to join the conversation with their counterparts in medicine and in allied healthcare professionals, because they can stand up for themselves and say, you know what, I actually have done this and I've done a proper assessment and I can tell you that this is what I'm thinking. So it's brilliant. It really is.
And I know there was a question in the chat there from one of the attendants, just a little bit concerned about maybe the structure in their work environment and would that kind of enable them to do the micro-credential. For the micro-credential that Paulo's talking about there, we take people from every single discipline. It doesn't matter, you know, kind of what your own internal structure is within your own team. We fully, and Paulo and the rest of the people involved in that micro-credential fully support your learning through that micro-credential. And as I said, and Clodagh said there, you know, it then will empower you then to maybe have different conversations within your team. So don't be concerned that maybe that you're not in the optimal structure within your own hospital or within your own team. You can still come and do this. We don't need a supervisor in your own team to stand over it. The support will be given to you by Trinity to do this. And Sinead, I suppose just for you as well, we were talking there just about the confidence and having that language to kind of go in and kind of enter into conversations in the workplace and to maybe put yourself forward for things that you weren't able to do before. Have you seen, you know, maybe in some people who've done your course, kind of maybe what they've gone on to and how they've changed a little bit as a result of it?
And I definitely, and some people have actually taken the projects that they started and they've gone on and kind of got funding and gone down different paths with them. So the micro-credential was really there to give them a base, to kind of give them the key concepts and the language. And actually one thing that is coming out more and more as we interact with students is sometimes they don't come in, they don't have a big organizational problem to solve, but actually they want to know more about digital health as it relates to patient care, and patients are asking them about, you know, using wearables, so they want to get more information about kind of that. So it is actually, and I probably wasn't thought of it at this in the beginning, but it really is a patient facing course as well. You know, just because it's digital health, but more and more people are engaging in wearables and collecting data from patients, and even patients are asking kind of, you know, where to get the best advice, or, you know, should they use this app or another app. And actually that's a lot of the stuff that we cover as well under the digital health banner. So yeah, where our kind of our graduates go after that is honestly in so many directions, but they really do leave with an appreciation of the complexity, the challenges, but also the opportunities and where they fit into those opportunities in the digital health space.
Yeah, that's great. Listen, everyone, we've kind of, thank you so much. I think we could keep going on and on. Just a couple of small questions just as we come to the end, and just to put the link up there for people who want to find out a little bit more about some of the micro-credentials we've been speaking about today and the range of other multidisciplinary micro-credentials we have here at Trinity. So I think it came up a little bit. I said that they're open to all. They are at postgraduate level 9. So that is the level that all of our micro-credentials are at in Trinity. So you don't have to have a postgraduate qualification ready to do these. These are very much an entry level into postgraduate education. And maybe we have people on the call, and we have this very regularly on micro-credentials, particularly in the healthcare space, people who maybe don't have a very formal or a very recent formal qualification, but have a huge amount of hands-on clinical experience in the workplace. So there is an access route into micro-credentials for those who maybe don't have a formal qualification, but do have a lot of experiential hands-on workplace learning. So don't be put off applying if you don't have this, that qualification or the other. If you feel it's something you're interested in, put in an application and we will then be able to assess. It's called recognition of prior learning. So we can take that into account if you have a lot of experiential or workplace learning. So do consider putting an application in for those. So don't be put off by the fact that they're at postgraduate level. One thing I do just want to highlight, and I know it's something I said the link is there, is really the question we get a lot is about how do I fund myself to go on these micro credentials? So some of you may be aware that there was a fee subsidy that ran for the past year that now ceased on the 31st of October. So we currently, for semester 2, we currently don't have a fee subsidy available. This is a government fee subsidy. It's not Trinity, it was a government fee subsidy. So that finished on the 31st of October. Obviously, we're lobbying strongly to get the additional subsidy, but just anybody applying for a semester 2 micro-credential, there won't be any subsidy available for those. But we would strongly encourage you, if you are coming from your workplace and you can see real value of the application of these micro-credentials in your workplace, please approach your employer. I know Clodagh has funded many of her staff in the hospital to come on our micro-credentials. Go and have a conversation with your employer, show them the details of the micro-credential and how it can impact you back in your workplace. You've heard some of the stories today, and have a conversation about that. And I think you will find that they're very willing to part fund, or in some cases fully fund, those micro-credentials. So I'd encourage you to do that, and don't be afraid to ask, is the thing I can say. And if a fee subsidy does become available from the government again, we will be sending that out and doing a lot of marketing around that, so you will hear about that through your clinical and your hospital networks. So we'd like to kind of thank all the panel for coming here today. It's been great to have you here and to hear your insights. So thank you, Gaye, Sinead, Clodagh and Paulo. Thank all of you for all your time here. It's been absolutely fantastic. And I've seen lots of other questions flying in that unfortunately we just don't have time to answer right now. But one of the team will get back to you with an answer to your question over today and tomorrow. And we have made a recording of the webinar today, and we'll be making that available to everyone who attended. So if there's something you didn't quite catch, you can listen back and fire us off a question and we'll be able to answer that for you. So thanks very much, everyone. Hopefully you found out a little bit more about Trinity micro-credentials, and hopefully you saw something that might be of interest and that really resonated for you. So I said, reach out to us with any queries, and hopefully we might see you here in Trinity sometime soon. So thanks very much, and have a nice afternoon. Take care. Bye bye.